No objections. I do have food on the way, so I might have to step away for like 2 minutes when that shows up, but I'm good otherwise.
Go ahead.
We killed Vecna. I mean, I don't know how else to explain that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very big battle, and we killed him. I can go into more detail if you want. There was a lot of clutch counter spells, and save embellishment, not embellishment. What's the word I'm looking for? The adjective that means improvement. Bolstering of our saving throws came in for enhancement. Thank you. I knew it started with an E. Yeah, when he was able to get some stuff off, it kind of sucked. But mostly he wasn't able to get stuff off. We had gotten smart at just the right times, and including Mercurio's feast exists. It is a thing that we could get the component for at just the right time. And yeah, there were some everyone did some stuff. Most everyone contributed to Vecna not being able to do stuff. Some of us did not contribute to that. Some of us just stabbed him a lot. And then he was no more. And then Talia arrived, but it wasn't really Talia, it was Cass. So we had a nice chat with the vampire, and who supervised the destruction of the reliquary, and then I think went off to his eternal rest, ? I think he said that was what he was going to do, so hopefully that's what he actually did. And then it really was Talia. And then we discussed where to go next. Most of us where to go next. Talia's staying put. She's already home. And the rest of us went back to the mansion in the Emerald Plains. We tried to convince Jocelyn to take us to hell instead of the Emerald Plains, and everyone else was like, maybe not right now. But we tried.
Long rest.
All you people with your spell slots and renewable resources. We just have rapier, so we don't need a rest. We just keep stabbing things.
My patience is restored to long rest.
How can you please teach me your secret?
No, I don't have the patience for it.
I mean,
spent it all today. Check in tomorrow.
Fair.
So, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was wicked busy this weekend. And I didn't get a chance to write an epilogue. So, I'm going to do the Dungeon Master thing. And I am totally just
make
going...
shit up.
Make shit up, exactly.
Yes, I'm so glad.
What, like A, B, C?
A.
Oh man, I wasn't prepared for that. This conflicts with my flow chart.
I mean, we haven't. Okay, I was gonna say having. I mean, I know who Tab would write a letter to. So if you want, as I think the only other person here who was played through an epistolary phase before, it would be, yeah, we know Bo's name. Hi, Bo. We wondered how the egg turned out. We wondered if you found the seller of the other eggs. We wondered if you were still at the library. We wondered if you have found any interesting books lately. We will be there very shortly. Please find an interesting book. We need to take one back to V. We promised. Yours, Tab. And then we immediately send it, and then we immediately start pestering Jocelyn to take us to the Cobalt Soul. But she probably has a minute or two to respond before the pestering is successful. Jocelyn, we need to find a boat.
What in the world do I need to find a boat for?
Not just any boat, a specific one. You're awake now. We can go.
What? How? I can't just find a boat.
And it continues in that vein for some time.
Yeah, I'm definitely struggling with the format.
As he's vibing out to some
But
funk music.
very much enjoying your background music.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a hint of the epilogue to come.
Macklin gets cast curse on and comes with his own theme music now.
I hear there's a flowchart though.
Yeah, I do. I want to hear this flowchart. I really want to hear this
I want to hear
flowchart.
this theme music.
Throw the theme music in there.
I wish I knew where it was, but it was there for a second. Once I hit talk, it appeared, and when I let go, it disappeared, just like that.
Damn it.
Sorry.
So about this flowchart.
Well, it's less a flowchart and more of a bullet point chart.
That's amazing because I'm pretty sure that's what tabs is as well.
100%.
Bullet points.
Yep.
Yeah. I figure to be true to tab, I couldn't do a lot of prepping. So I just have bullet points and improv.
All right, so then, well, fuck it. All right. I'll start with some of the stuff that Macklin is doing, and maybe if others are feeling, inspired, or perhaps just excited to jump into game or what have you, maybe someone else can cut in, and I can mete out these things a little bit at a time.
Delightful. Or just tell us when you're tired of talking, and someone else can take over, and then we can go from there.
Or just tell you when I'm tired of talking. That works too. So first and foremost, Macklin he doesn't know when to put a job down. You can't really rest when you have tasks ahead of you. So as much as he'd like to retire immediately, there's a lot of shit that has to happen first. The countryside of Taldori is not really a country anymore. It used to be a grand republic, and now it's just a collection of scattered people holding on for dear life. People have to know that, hey, the dead will be, leaving soon. Vecna's dealt with. But there's going to be an immediate aftermath of same shit that happened before during the Chroma Conclave. Displaced people, a lack of infrastructure, a lack of government, a lack of any source of structure for people to turn to. So I envision that Macklin will be staying with the powers that be, with the Sovereign, the Empress now, I guess, until such a time as it is decided that a plan of action is made, because we all know how he is about plans. He's going to spend maybe a year or two watching out for power grabs, watching out for exploitative behavior, making sure no, foreign entity comes in and tries to take advantage of this whole situation. Still very much playing the part that he has set for himself with the Taldori family. Still very much, hanging out and working with Cure. If Cure is still a defender, is still willing to put in the work, still working with potentially Tab if Tab hasn't run off to find a boat, or Jawson if Jawson hasn't decided to return to his cave and sleep for 1,000 years. Working with V if V decides to stick around and reap the benefits of building a new country. I don't know what the other players intend to do. So how about I propose a question? Shit has to be rebuilt. Some people, I imagine, would want to duck out and maybe relax. But who's sticking around for the rebuilding?
Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, Jawson, after returning, has a heartfelt conversation with his brother, explaining how good it felt to destroy his father. Let him know the frustrations that good old dad had, as his son was the bringer of his downfall. After that, hanging around for a few, Jawson promised Tab that he would take them through the plains, and that is what he, and I'm sure, depending on what Tab wants to do, is going to do.
Tab has a couple things to do first, so I think Jawson would have a little time to play with before starting intensively planeswalking with Tab. Although certainly they wanted to go to hell, so there may be some early planeswalking too. But yeah, Tab will have a couple of things to get done in the early days first.
So with that, then, I mean, Macklin, you're talking about 2 years later?
I imagine 2 years would probably be the minimum before something is set up.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would help.
That would definitely help.
He's delightful.
It'll also complement Cure's story, since Cure is wrapped up in that, and we'll touch on Macklin's intentions as well. He's not the only one.
You can't slap her, Cure. That'd be spousal abuse.
That's why Macklin slaps her twice.
Right.
Depends on where she smacks her.
Oh, I'm not touching that.
Woo! Hands off on that one.
You've got a good thing going on here. There's a lot to do.
I think I can actually jump in with the first part of Cure's epilogue. Kind of bouncing off of that idea in the immediate aftermath of returning from the fight. Cure would promptly and as quickly as reason would allow retire from her service as a Talon and leave the Church of the Raven Queen. Likely with full honors for services rendered, and she's not leaving in disgrace or anything like that, and she's still devout, still attends the important holidays and celebrations, but she's skipping out on all the smaller ceremonies and sermons and such to focus primarily on spending time with the family. time that's largely spent with Alina and Vex learning to be a mother and repairing the fractured relationship of the Taldori side of the family, often playing intermediary since she's on good terms with Salda and would probably smooth things over with Gren after making Gren do a lot to earn her favor again. And building a proper relationship with Tivalt and Almika, who she felt like she really screwed up on the former and hasn't devoted enough time to the latter. So, and finally regarding family, any communication, any visits to the Shadowfell, she would be quick to sign up for, to visit with Talia, maintain close attentions, close communication with Talia, and making sure that Talia didn't drift too far away. She would also keep finding reasons to put off reclaiming the Holy Avenger, thinking that there might be some magic in it that might help keep Talia from succumbing to the worst effects of the Shadowfell. The part where this becomes relevant for Tal'Dorei in general and Macklin, she's not spending all of her time with her family, just a lot of it. She's not interested in fighting anymore, but she is keen on bringing the country back together and rebuilding what they have. She's very her feelings on the matter when it comes to war and conflict is to protect and build what they have and don't pursue more than what they can manage, which plays into the we're not imperial, we're trying to fix what we already lost. She's also discreetly working with every arcanist she can find, Josen in particular, as well as anyone she can find going out and about, to try and find a way for Ilya to undermine the curse of the Crown of Flames. So during this time of rebuilding, while she's doing her part, she's also kind of secretly, quote unquote, researching and hiring people who does research better than her to go out and find a way to deal with this, because no one deserves to spend so much a part of their afterlife constantly fighting.
So just to add to that, don't mean to interrupt you because you're on a
By all
roll
means.
there. With Tab kind of setting off to do their own task, I think Jozen and Odrin would take up co-head magic advisors for Tal'Dorei, and with Cure wanting to know, trying to figure out a way to get rid of the curse. I think that's probably one of the reasons why Josen takes on the task of planeswalking with Tab to see if he can find in multiple planes, to see if he can find any information on how he could remove the curse. That would probably be one of his tasks that he takes on when Cure asks. Jozen, with the help of Odrin as well, would also get, because the bracelets are only a certain mile range, he would probably craft some magic items of whatever preference the party would like, so that they can always, no matter where Jozen is, can keep in communication with him. For at any point they needed him for anything, he could be there. And well, I mean, Jozen in a flash. Yeah, hold on. Tell me where you are. Pretty much. Yeah, Yep. You would definitely, because that would take him some time to craft. With Odrin's help, a little bit faster. So, but yeah, essentially, it's like it's that button that you push on the wristwatch when when the shadow needs something or on the ring. That way, Jozen can be there whenever they need him. So he never wants to be, quote unquote, too far away. But go ahead, Cure. I just wanted to say that with that, that's one of the reasons why he takes on his planeswalking career.
Oh yeah, I would say that This would all culminate in a possible solution. The manner of which is deliberately left vague, but Cure would be reaching out to her old companions to join her on one final mission to take care of this issue. And I feel like that would probably be towards the end of the first year after the end of the war. At which point, with all the go ahead. Good to know. That creates a very overarching goal for her then.
Then you got the champion of contract making right here. If there's a way,
exactly why she wanted Josen in on it from the start.
if there's a way, Josen will figure it out.
With that first year of rebuilding, the second year, Cure would probably turn her sights overseas, and probably have a discussion with Macklin. But I'll pause here to give anyone else who wants to fill in that first year, so we kind of know where we're all at.
You want to go, V? Do you want me to go? Do you want us to go?
Sure. I haven't done anything yet. So, kind of in the immediate aftermath, V is kind of in and out for those first 2 years. It's like he's checking in, he's quote unquote running errands and taking commissions. He's also checking back in with his people in Jorhas and Dendalis and seeing, where the end goals coincide. So he's like going through ruins, going through the abandoned territories, probably, taking detours to help slay some more undead, collecting artifacts, books, and other valuables that have been abandoned in the aftermath. And then he's going to be helping with kind of some of those recovery efforts and rebuilding and pulling back some of the heritage information because it's archiving. It's interesting. And then wandering with Tab or doing stuff for Macklin or planeswalking because why not? Sounds cool.
And that's thematically consistent because I mean, if I were to do a 3-word epilogue for Tab, it would be Tab keeps moving, because that's what Tab does. And they're a little different now. I mean, they're still Tab. They'll always be Tab. The fundamental Tabishness does not change, but the job is finished. The job that they had been heavy on their shoulders. The work that had been started and then lost when they were trapped in the puzzle box is over now. And at somewhere in there, they come back and it's resting a little lighter on their shoulders, and they're thinking of it not as fate that it worked out this way, but just the twists and turns of luck. And they can live with it a little bit better than they could before. But they're still Tab, so they go back to work. They mostly take Corin with them, like they promised, and mostly Corin goes, like he promised, and so does Ambassador Mac the Not Goose, who's growing into a fine young phoenix over however, I don't know what a phoenix's lifespan, and I know what a phoenix's lifespan is, I don't know what phoenix's growth cycle is like. So at some point he becomes less goose-like, I assume, but maybe not. Delightful. Oh. And honestly, yeah, and honestly, if anybody gets that, it's Tab in the Peanut Gallery. So that's kind of fitting. And if V wants to go, V is welcome to come along as often as he wants. And kind of the other thing about Tab is that Tal'Dorei isn't their home. Amon was, but that was 10, 12 years ago now, 15 years ago. It wasn't that long for them. But they are not attached to some of the area in the way that some of the rest of you are. So they're off. They find Ghost. The first thing they do when they go back to work is they find Ghost because they promised help with the circus. And they do that. Yeah. They have to go take care of some clowns because they promised. And they do, as their letter implied, go back to the Cobalt Soul. Well, I guess not to the Cobalt Soul. They go in search of Bo and her boat to make sure that things worked out all right for her. And maybe they drag Bo on an adventure or two if she's willing, although it sounds like she's got her own situation. So that's nice too. With Tab, it's fine. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Delightful. Oh, that's an interesting thought exercise that I'll have to do at some point. And they just start picking up odd jobs here and there for whoever amuses them to work for. Sometimes the Cobalt Soul, sometimes Assume in his retirement. I assume he retires quickly or not quickly. Okay.
Checks
So
out.
even once Assume drops off the map, they know where he is, and if anything pings his radar that someone should handle, Tab handles it and doesn't bother him with the details. They'll, as Rob alluded to, they'll do some work for Macklin here and there, and sometimes for the class, but they're very clear that they're a freelancer now. And they definitely track down Ferg and spend some quality time with him as well. So I think they spend most of those first few years traveling this world mostly, and finding their people and setting what crosses their path as they need to be set right to rights, and before they wander back to bother Jocelyn about really Jocelyn, you're getting a bit stuck here. We think you should go to hell. We can start with the Feywild, and then we can go to hell, and go on from there.
Wow, Tab. I mean, I've never had someone politely tell me to go to hell, but usually it's very angry and yeah. Yeah. So I mean, Jocelyn, where Tab, I just picture like as Tab's like bouncing from these areas throughout the world. That Jocelyn, need your help. I need you to transport me here. Jocelyn's like, yeah, be right back. Disappears, then comes back after dropping Tab off. Yeah, it's strange. Like getting a call. No, Cure needs to go somewhere, so I'll be right back. No, Macklin, you need. Yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah. I'm gonna start charging everyone. This is getting ridiculous. You know how much energy this takes? I know it's not fuel, but it's still energy at the same time here.
You're doing nothing for the rest of the day. Just take a nap when you're done.
Being a part of, listen, let me tell you something. Yeah.
Checks out.
That does check out. Being a magic advisor to a sovereign, I want to say, Cure, is a very hefty task to take on. And don't forget, I'm also doing research to remove a curse from your wife's, body.
Speaking of, I need to check with Macklin on that.
You're going to curse Macklin?
On occasion, I wish I could.
I can help you with that.
I'm not going to curse Macklin.
I think every once in a while, too, throughout the years, Jocelyn's always tempting these people with a wish. I can make all your greatest desires come true with just one simple wish.
We don't need one. We have one left. It's not for us, but we have one left if we do decide we need
What
it.
exactly are you asking in return for these wishes, Jocelyn?
Just a minor signature on this piece of paper here.
Wants to be a warlock of Johnson. Couldn't get Vecna, so he's gonna get one of you.
Goddamn.
Yeah, on second thought, I'll trade in my other favor. With the other wizard.
That'd probably be the wisest idea.
No, wait, Tab, do you still have a wish left?
We do, but it's not for us. We used one we weren't supposed to use.
Oh.
So the ones we earned, we're saving the last one for whoever needs it next. We paid it back.
Whose wishes?
What'd she get?
Go ahead, Macklin.
I was going to say, with Tab bouncing around and
Like, I
wanting
don't.
to
I
keep
think even
moving,
my alt has
they're going to have to decide on a tattoo very quickly. What that group tattoo design is going to be. So, among the loose threads involving the knights, as imminently, eventually, someday, they might have to go their own separate ways. Macklin is going to push for a group tattoo. Sort of meeting Tab halfway, but definitely shooting down anything that's ridiculous that Tab might suggest. So, like, no clown tattoos, no no English tattoos.
What about an Edgar that wraps around your wrist?
Ooh, I could agree upon that.
Tab has been practicing the swarm of tiny Edgars for a long time. They're probably good at little Edgars. Edgars have all. I mean, scaling up is easy, right? Scaling it down and getting the details is the hard part. So
That's a question for when Mitch comes back. Edgar got during that fight. Does Cure bring him back or let him rest?
Oh, she brings him back.
Okay, swarm of Edgars for this.
She brings him back when, as soon as she reasonably can, and he's just annoyed that he couldn't get in on the fighting.
Could not bite. Anger.
He just whenever he gets ruffled, all of his feathers will stand on end, and he'll start clacking his beak up in the air.
Nice. So among the things to do in the first year, get matching tattoos with the crew. Probably Edgar around the wrist, maybe a swarm of Edgars. Who knows? Maybe Macklin will finally get that heart tattoo that's on his butt replaced with a cute griffin tattoo. We'll find out.
we might draw the line at tattooing Macklin's butt. If you want to do that on your own time.
Need a mirror and a steady hand.
Tab is not generally precious about nudity, but that I feel like that might be a bridge too far for them.
Tab draws the line at Tushy. Also,
looking presence is fine, but tattooing is that is a level of intimacy that Tab is not prepared for.
Nah. But speaking of intimacy and serious conversation, Macklin wants to check in.
That's quite
Macklin wants to have
a segue.
A serious question, a serious conversation with Tab about what Tab left behind with the puzzle box. Who was in their circle? Who did they run with? And can those people be found? Corin, happy accident. Corin was discovered, but were there others? There's a lot of ground to cover with rebuilding, and that might be a project, a two birds with one stone situation.
User in your channel timed out.
Oh, I broke somebody.
You broke Tab.
I broke Tab. Oh no, Tab ran away from that question. Well, sorry.
This is about the time Tab went to hell with Josen.
That's pretty much how that works. Sorry, gotta go.
Well, shit.
User entered your channel.
Oh, good.
That's
like
one way
I
to
said,
duck a question.
Tab is still Tab, and apparently Tab is able to avoid serious conversations by shutting my Wi-Fi down accidentally.
That's fine. That's fine. If Tab doesn't want to go down that path, that's okay.
Personal question. Bail!
Don't know what's happened. I don't know what I literally heard Tab. Macklin wants to have a serious conversation with Tab, and I said, "Oh no!" And then I heard nothing. And then I heard nothing.
Oh man, you didn't dip until 30 seconds later. So Macklin, he wants to see. He wants to find out if the people that Tab ran with, Tab circle their connections, if Tab can remember them, because we found Corin by happy accident. but maybe there's others out there scattered, among the survivors of Taldori.
Oh, what an
And-
interesting question.
And since we're going to be rebuilding, and since the sovereign is consolidating these lands together, maybe it's possible to reach out and do some investigating. Maybe reunite Tab with some people that got left behind.
What an interesting question. And Tab just kind of stares at Macklin for... It's probably like a couple of seconds, so like not a long time in the length of time for somebody, like someone in general, to be processing things, but definitely a long time for Tab to be.
That's a long time for Tab
Yeah.
to think.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
like an
going
hour
really
in
good or
Tab
really
time.
bad.
Yeah, and it is very clear from their expression that they don't quite understand the question. And we found them. We found them all.
Well, shit. Okay.
And if I don't know if they would be questioned further, if Mac would just take that at face value.
No, Macklin is keen on not probing Tab too deeply.
Yeah.
If Tab is content, then he's happy.
And I think they would, like, unless Macklin like actively left, they would elaborate a little bit and say like that we found Corin and we found Assume, and other than that was really it. And then they just sort of pat the side of their head.
Okay.
Because Tab didn't really have, like, Tab knew a lot of people. Tab was embedded in the class. Tab certainly had colleagues.
I
But
don't know if Tab had family or like
Tab,
love
the
interests or
the Peanut Gallery was Tab's family. Was Tab's
the Peanut
everything,
Gallery is Tab's
essentially.
family. Well,
Yeah.
That's great. You're your own mobile caravan. Your own traveling circus.
Not the circus. We've killed the clowns.
Circuses. Speaking of circuses.
There's no more circus.
How vocal is Tab about this whole circus situation and going back to Ghost?
I don't think they're like making announcements, but if anyone asks what they're going, like they've mentioned it a couple of times in game. If anyone asks what they're going to do, or if people are just sort of discussing what they're going to do next, they definitely, like, as they have previously done, will say something casual about having to go kill some clowns. I think they don't necessarily mention that it's would Ghost have said enough out loud to? So the app would not draw the connection, but the connection would be clear.
So the circus situation, does that happen in the first year or is that down the line? How much time does Macklin have to take off to get in on the circus business? Solid week off. Cool, because he also has to, well, for one, make sure that the timeline is a better one, the one that he saw. And two, as part of the loose ends list here, he has a ring he has to give back to Ghost.
Oh.
Once that job is situated and done with, that ring's going back to Ghost, and maybe she can get her shit together. Okay. That's definitely not a skyship that she's leaving, that baby. Oh, they have a house. They have a house. I thought they were living on the ship. Okay, cool. Separate. Oh, that's so strange. Yes, you should name them Song. It's lovely. Cool. So that's one loose end severed, tied. Jozen does not appear to be retiring, so I'll scratch ensure Jozen is set up comfortably in his twilight years off of the epilogue. And I'll check back in about 30 to see if he's lost his stamina finally. I think 110 is about the age where he's ready to, maybe go to the nursing home. Before Jocelyn retires.
I'm adventuring in.
That's why you have to keep taking him places with time passes differently. It keeps him young. Well, old, but less old.
About that trip to hell, did we happen to run into a certain person called Etten at any point?
I'm adding that to my list of questions just in case we don't.
Have we decided? Are we all going to hell? Is that what's happening? Year 2 is hell year?
Oh, I wasn't sure if Tab was
Okay,
going to
so
go
that's-
along on that mission after all, but now they're all in for sure. Like there's no doubt.
Tab might have contacts there by
Tab
then.
might already be there. Like you just run into them on the web, and when you guys arrive, and they're like, "Oh, you're here. Let's go."
Tab's gonna.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have horns.
I just picture like Jaws and Tab in hell. Jozen's like, "Hey, yeah, you have to come here to kill the demon." Kyor's like, "Come pick us up," and Jozen's like, "I'll be right back." Goes, picks him up, brings the whole group back at it again, are we?
And Tab has been like trying to bribe Jozen, or like convince Jozen to tell the group that they needed to come to hell to kill the demon without it actually being true, and is baffled when it turns out to be the real place, the real thing that needs to happen.
Oh man, I love it.
That's wonderful. That's year 3. Yes, Macklin.
I actually wanted to double back on V real quick. First year, V is going back to Joe House and doing some acquisitions, some searching, some jobs, right? Last I heard, we never heard anything back about that bug problem.
Oh, at the
Ferg sent it to the Underdark, and V got pretty upset about that.
Oh yeah.
So maybe take off some time and help do some exterminating over on that side of the world.
Oh, no.
I don't know if that's a first-year job or a second-year job.
Oh, that seems fine.
Year 4 is the exterminators.
3 years later, ecosystems! Learn them!
I don't know. It could be year 2, because year 2 is when Kyor starts to plan a trip to Wildmount.
Ooh. Macklin has other reasons for going there as well.
Yeah, so I figure by that time, there's probably been that discussion regarding whether or not the Empire is enemy or ally. And Kyor wants to follow up on whether or not she actually has any more relatives out on that side of the world. So she would plan a family trip for the blue side of the family to visit the old country and do some poking around to see if they can turn over anything as the public-facing reason for this expedition. On the down low, probably working with Macklin and Ilya, they've got enough canny minds among them to start to keep an eye out in the Empire and get a feel for how things sit regarding the end of the war, the consolidation in Tal'Dorei, whatever happened to Trent-Ikathon, and kind of do some quiet digging of info. This would probably be worked out kind of like Kyor would be like, yes, that's something we should do. Macklin, how should we do this? And Macklin would give instructions to the cannier members of the party to handle that kind of thing. But yeah, they would spend a little time in Wildmount traipsing around, doing some investigating. Maybe hey Josen, my family would like to go on a trip. Are you available?
The whole clan?
The whole family? Gosh, God.
Oh, just half of us. The blue half.
I don't know how to take that, Cure. Oh, you're talking about the Cure side of the family, not the Taldore. Oh, I was going to say this. It's going to be multiple trips, Cure.
I will make a half-hearted persuasion check. Let me see here. I'm not wholly convinced of the danger in this, since I don't expect to get any trouble, but she is young.
I mean, you're basically gods.
We're basically gods.
Wow, I rolled low and got a 15. So yeah, even if Alina wants to go, I'll allow it, provided that I mean, she's going to be surrounded by her extended family. So that was pretty half-hearted. I only rolled a 4.
It's wicked low.
We got plus 11 in persuasion, but when it comes to family,
I mean, we got a devil we have to slay. We got a kraken we have to defeat.
It's a kraken?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh, good.
I was going to say, where was I? But it seems like you're leading up to it.
Well, yeah, Jocelyn's going to be a plane walker. Do you think I'm not going to visit all the planes?
What's that got to do with krakens?
That's where they're in the water plane, man.
Aren't they in the water, period?
Yes. Well, I don't think they're on the material plane.
Oh, okay.
It depends. I mean, obviously, it depends on what world you're in. I don't know about Taldore or Alexandria. I mean, me and Tab are looking for a boat.
That's true.
So there's your kraken right there.
The boat is the kraken.
So, I mean, after years go by, as Tab and Jozen are bouncing from these planes, Jozen's not just going to these planes for fun. Well, he is, but he's not.
Fun and profit.
So, like, he figured he'd go back to the fire plane and, try to help liberate the slaves of the fire plane that are being sold. Seeing as how as one of his greatest companions was sold on a market like that. And,
dismantling the city of brass.
Somewhat, yeah. Yeah, you can say that.
Hell yeah.
Hell, obviously, we're gonna kill a demon, right? So there's that. He figured he'd go to the water plane and slay a kraken because he was just there, and the kraken came out of nowhere, and Tab and Jozen had to slay a kraken.
As one does.
I can do it. So basically, Jocelyn's going on an Aramente, but more badass.
I love it.
He keeps getting older, but cooler.
What's his face? Oh, Bertrand. R.I.P.
Ripperoni.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally planes hopping from here to here to here to here. Jozen's exploring the planes. And that's what that's his main intent. He is seeing everything. I mean, he's been to this plane and that plane, and now he's like, well, there's got to be more planes out there, right?
See them all.
And he's doing it he's figuring out who needs help and, doing research on these planes to see which planes he can go to help in each of the planes. Because knowing that, for example, the Shadowfell, finding out that what the idea of what Jocelyn had of the Shadowfell beforehand, and realizing that the Shadowfell wasn't as, it's full of people that actually needed help. City of Brass, he found out that it's full of people that actually do need help. And, he got that adrenaline pumping where he just helped his own plane. He might as well go help others. And he's practically a god. So, and he knows Tab likes to go do fun things. So he knows Tab's all for it as long as he takes them to hell.
Sure is. And like Tab likes going other places too, but Tab just likes hell best.
It's like an epic buddy cop adventure log.
Yes. But like Tab is Tab. Tab can have a good time wherever they are. So
I'm going to write this book. I'm totally going to write this book.
I would
The
read the hell out
Adventures
of
of Tab and Jocelyn. Oh, you. That's why I said it's kind of like I didn't really write much, because this is what Jocelyn's going to do. He's going to go and help everyone that he can before he evidently comes to his utter demise. But
you have Wish.
I have Wish, yes.
You could just...
I'm not becoming a lich, Macklin.
I'm not saying a lich.
You're telling me... Oh, God. Oh, man. And then here comes, campaign 3, where it's, instead of Vecna, it's Jocelyn. We're all having to kill.
Yo,
The moment Jocelyn starts talking about lichdom in any context, he's going to have a lot of people paying close attention to him.
All I'm saying is that archliches exist, and you could become a patron.
You're trying to convince me to become a god, aren't you?
No, a demigod.
This is how Vecna was made, right here. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. The last archmage that I ran into was a dickhead who was essentially enslaving people.
No, that's an archmage. I'm talking archlich.
Oh, now you want me to become an?
It's better. It's more better.
How is that better?
It's more better.
That's the one thing Jocelyn doesn't want to become, is a lich.
So you're saying you're
Max,
open to
stop
becoming a
poking
child.
Justin's trauma.
This is the common argument heard in the Tal'Dorei hallways as Macklin and Josen just stroll on by.
I'm just saying, if you can keep yourself alive with magic and not souls, why not do it?
Macklin, I'm not becoming any sort of lich at all. It's not
becoming
happening.
any younger either.
Well, just
Word.
and Tab will be there by his side the whole time. What's everybody else doing before they die?
Wow.
Amazing.
After the first 5 years, Tal'Dorei is probably put back together and good. Macklin has another ring to return. He's going to find, in the new capital city, he's going to seek out the Temple of Arathis and give the lady of the place her ring back. He believes it'll find itself to the right person. Tends to. That was the deal. The deal's complete. It's time to return the goods. It's going to start probably during year 1. He's going to begin investigations into the remainder of the O'Mara family.
Which ones?
Maybe.
Who was that?
That's his family.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Spend some time with Corin and Birch in the Taurian woods. Connect a little bit with what's left of the good side of the family, all the while keeping feelers out for what remains of the Omeras, those whose personalities are Bostwick adjacent. Also, dig up the urn that Bostwick is in, and if the Omeras are found, as a professional courtesy, return the ashes. Create some kind of task force, an advocacy group perhaps, or some manner of mitigating factor when it comes to humanoid trafficking within these cities. Pull some strings with what people he has pulls with to see if something can be made. Yeah, it's not a hard sell.
I mean,
But it is
even
definitely-
Jor's history, like he's got the full backing of the royal family behind him.
Things seem to have lined up correctly for this to happen. He's not going to have a part in it, but he wants to make sure that it becomes a thing. Talking 5 years, long term, definitely going to slowly, piece by piece, decouple himself from government authority, that kind of shit. Name a successor, train a successor. If Assume's not going to do it well, Macklin stumbled into this job. He needs to make sure that the next person actually knows what they're doing. Yeah. I can dig it. Yep. And I need someone like Ambassador Mac who can keep ears open, maybe listen to all sides of things, and use their head as the clasp begins to inevitably reassert itself. I know Don John is doing a good job right now, but for how long can Don John stay in his position of power? How much of a problem is that of mine, though? Macklin going to pull himself out of the clasp and actually retire in earnest this time. Out for good. And when it seems like the world is a little less on fire, in all likelihood, he's going to bid farewell to Taldori. There's history there, maybe a little bit too much history. Someone put a bug in his ear about maybe checking out a little hole in the wall place called Jorhaus. He'll end up either following or going with Ava to Jorhaus to just retire or start something new. He's content to spend time with Ava, learn about her magic and her craft, explore the cultures there on that part of the world. He's going to keep an eye on the power plays and keep his beeper, I guess, on him in case the Knights ever need to, put the band back together. But he's going to focus on himself after this.
Oh, I love that for him.
So yeah, now what's Macklin going to do for the next 200 years?
Probably start taking levels in Artificer. Level 21, baby!
He is totally there for that.
Oh, man.
Okay. Yours is pretty straightforward. As things start to settle down, she has no interest in returning to the fight and is perfectly happy with her family. But to fend off that little wanderlust bug, every year she takes a family trip with her immediate family to go hunt something in Taldori. like a monster or a threat or something, or just like, this is what we do every year on our anniversary, a wild hunt, a gray hunt.
It's a Taldore hunt.
She definitely is willing to help out wherever she can. If any of her allies call upon her, she's willing to pick up a sword to assist. Not as the champion of the Raven Queen, but as just Kior Taldore. Regarding being the champion of the Raven Queen, her armor, the mantle, she keeps all of that boxed up. She did not return it to the church, but there's an implicit understanding that she has with the Raven Queen that should a champion be needed that Kior cannot fulfill, then one way or another, they're going to find their way to her. So she might pass it off to a successor if it happens in her lifetime. If not, when she passes, then she'll bequeath it to the temple. But otherwise, she's guard dogging that. Other than that, just focusing on family life, helping the country get back to where it's supposed to be, and yeah, she ends up becoming that a sweet little old grandmother
who can throw the fuck down.
She moves slow unless you move quickly near her, and then suddenly.
I love that. I love that so much. Combat grandma.
Very protective, very doting.
I was waiting to see if we wanted to do anything else, but I can do the last bit I have for Tab if unless Jill wants to go again.
Oh, go for it. It's just, this is V's probably like going to retire pretty much last.
He certainly has quite a bit of lifespan ahead of him. Yeah. I am getting an echo that's very distracting.
Mish, yeah,
there we go. That's better. Thank you. Yeah, and I think it's sort of more of a non ending to the epilogue than it is an ending. But yeah, Tab, just as mentioned, they stay with Jazin on it. I mean, intermittently, like they're not glued to Jazin's elbow, but they stay. They continue to travel with Jazin for as long as he wants them there. Up until whenever the end turns out to be, if he wants them there for that as well. They keep Corin close for the remainder of the time. They stay close to Assume. They develop a bit of not a routine, but like a circuit. They are beholden to no one, and that's important. But they still have friends, and they don't forget that. They shift and change when they appear, where they appear. But they always come back around. Turning up in the same places, visiting the same people over and over again as time goes by, and just checking in, just making sure. They usually bring some sort of gift, which sometimes makes the recipients' lives a bit too exciting for a while, but individual mileage probably varies on that. They always bring stories. Sometimes they tell them, sometimes they don't, but they always have them. And I think after Jazin returns to his material components, or whatever the hell old sorcerers do in the end. I think Tab leaves the bracelet or whatever they had found. That hangs out with Jazin. And they don't disappear. They continue to come around, but sort of the intervals between their visits lengthens again. And at some point, it's been a very long time since anyone has seen Tab. And it's, I think, never quite clear whether that was because they finally found the situation that they couldn't think on their feet their way out of, or if they just found some other grand adventure that they're off occupied on, and maybe they'll turn up again. Yeah, Tab doesn't think that's anyone's business, so that's all I know.
So several years farther in, V acquires a tower and cashes in a favor that's owed to him by a wizard to have it transported to a more suitable location. He explains to Tab at the time it wasn't like he needed it anymore. He doesn't really go into it any further than that. Veldrin goes
we
into
hope you got to
excellent
keep his
protection
library,
from
though.
his Amalgamated Wizards Tower private archive, and the menagerie may or may not continue to grow. He's got time.
We bring special animals for V every time we find them. They're all like some variation on cat, but there's lots of different variations on cats across all the planes, it turns out.
He totally takes a sabbatical to set up his library archive there.
He becomes
Don't
V's
rush him
found
into
candlekeep in
retirement.
this realm.
Tabax, you start mistaking him from the Lord of Cats.
He accidentally becomes the Lord of Tabaxi's.
Wow. I mean, we knew
No,
that
V's
V was there was more beneath the surface. Now we know.
V's is just straight up a mistake. Like, they think that he's the Lord of Cats, and they get to his doorstep. He's like, no. I'm the
The
Lord
cats
of this,
are really
this
how he
tower.
connects to the
These are my
spy
cats.
network because he just keeps networking. V knows people by the time he's 100 years old.
I mean, you cast Awakening on those cats. You got some perfect spies.
All he has to do is learn to speak to animals. Easy as pie.
I mean, yeah.
Wow. I did not see that coming, and I love it.
Hell yeah.
I had to come up with something good.
Hard to go wrong with cats.
I think I heard a request for what the hell happened to Atten. And who
Mhm.
was Atten and what was going on there?
Yeah, we have to know what happened to Ed.
I actually, fun fact, I remembered earlier today when I was trying to remember questions, I was like, was there something in hell? Was there like an interest, like an NPC that we was like, clearly there was more going on there.
If
And
he
then I
survived,
couldn't
you would like to
remember.
recruit him?
And I convinced myself that was actually a Critical Role plot line and not us.
Darn it, so he's not still wandering around and V can like go back and acquire
That
him
poor
as a... Well, yeah, V wanted hired muscle. That would've been perfect.
Oh, Atten.
Amazing.
Also, he still has V's book.
Oh.
Oh.
V will find this guy eventually.
Maybe that's the other way we get to
10
go
years
back to
down the
hell.
road, he shows up in a mod looking for V.
He shows
just
up
to
looking for the
return the
King of
book.
Cats and is surprised it's me.
He can be the seneschal or something in the tower, because we might have the tower by then.
Questions about NPCs. Hallister. Did he ever get back that thing that he wanted? Was it the destruction of Vecna, or was it something that we missed? Okay.
Encroaching his territory.
Okay. Got it.
Oh,
Night kisses. Okay. It's a lot of night kisses.
5 minute night. Man, I wish I got that at night.
That is very generous. You know, in this day and age, you'd be lucky to get 1 minute of night kisses.
Right?
In this economy,
Fucking- yeah. They get too costly after a while, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, for real, for real.
I'm now picturing Vecna and Alistair like gentlemen chess players, constantly trying to outdo each other. And Alistair's like, "You've lost before you even started this game. I've beat you 30 years from now."
That's kind of what happened.
What? You're lying.
Yeah.
Vecna will
Why
pick.
is Vecna Skeletor?
He will always be Skeletor to me.
Me. I pictured like Waluigi is what that sounded. Me. How dare you?
It's too late. I'm God now. Whee!
Premeditated deification.
That shit doesn't happen by accident.
Premature apotheosis.
Then we have to ask the question: didn't we hit you enough times with a fireball to get rid of you, you son of a bitch?
How many times do we have to teach you, old man?
We hit him with 0 fireballs. That's why he didn't learn his lesson.
Oh boy.
Oh, our mistake.
He
We'll
hit
do it
us
right
with-
next time.
Yeah.
He hit us with at least 3 meteor swarms.
I mean, he hit some of you with 3 meteor storms.
I mean, yeah. There was
He
the one
hit
time in
Edgar
hell.
with meteor storm.
Yeah, not 3
Instantly
of them
popped
though.
Edgar.
Oh, poor Edgar.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, but he only hit us with 2 because I made sure the first one didn't get fucking sent out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Does
Oh.
not
Not the mama.
not want mama. Yeah, the first time was in hell when he did meteor swarm and killed half of his friends. I mean,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that meteor storm.
I forgot about that.
What?
Liam.
He do want
Now
mama?
does
Now we want you threaten no. Now I want it.
No. Want mama get her steps in.
Oh, buddy.
Does he want a different mama?
Mixed messaging.
Do you have to wear a funny hat? Does he not recognize you with the hat?
He's in
guy.
one of those moods, huh? Sounds like it. So I have to ask, how many side quests did we miss?
That's a bad question.
Mm.
Oh,
That's around the time I
disappoints me.
joined.
That disappoints me.
Was that the one that was wearing someone else's skin?
mm,
Damn.
looking like Vex, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's a good point. That's a good point. It still would have been an interesting thread to chase. Those are the ones that disappoint me the most because they're like, I don't want to say investigation, but they're complete. It takes you out of the world that you're in, you know, all this, and then you realize there's actually a world around you. That's why it disappoints me when I miss those. Right.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah. How many side quests did we actually chase? Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that because that makes sense. They're not really. If we didn't choose to pursue Tivalt the way that we did, we wouldn't have found out that it was Cure's brother, right? Brother. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was kind of my thought initially as well. Like, I did not think they were related until down the line.
I didn't either.
Speaking of relations, does Cure have any more relatives out there in the world that are still around and kicking?
Yeah, none live.
Okay.
Oh,
That is fine.
They were kind
see, I thought that question was going to go one of two ways. Either there's like none, or there's like 30.
Yep.
Her
But I
mother
mean,
was very popular.
Based on what those kids were being used for, I mean, it makes sense that a lot of them didn't make it.
So I guess I just have to add it. What happens to Felion and what happens to Ferg?
I was curious about that, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah. I could see that happening. Yeah. Mm. All right. Yeah. Smart
The
girl.
smart choice.
Wise.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
F this shit, I'm out.
And what happened to Ferg? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. That sounds like Ferg right there.
That checks out. I was wondering what was going on with
100%.
Kymel.
So
was
what kind
another,
of dragon was Ava? Interesting.
Yeah.
Steel dragons say ACAB.
I mean, mood.
Makes sense.
So, do we ever run across Ferg in our travels, and does Sunshine actually get back to him at some point?
I mean, Tab definitely includes him in their loops. Tab loved Ferg. They thought he was the best.
Everyone loved Ferg. Ferg was the
So
best.
they would if the dog needed to get back to Ferg and Alina was done taking care of Alina and need to get back to Ferg, they would shepherd the dog back to Ferg. But I don't know how Ferg and Alina would feel about that. So he was a pet dog. He was not an adventuring dog.
Well, like an old dog in an orphanage just sounds like it'd fit in nicely.
Yeah.
He goes back and does
Sunbeam
therapy dog
retires too.
things.
Sunbeam was a tracking dog, and
Oh.
he could track you on any plane, anywhere in existence.
Wow.
Oh.
That's how I made Sunbeam. Sunbeam wasn't he wasn't a battle hardy dog. He was a Labrador who had magical sense that could sense you no matter where you are.
Oh, cool.
So the reason that I didn't say anything, like as far as while we're playing the campaign, right, is I didn't. We could have used Sunbeam for a lot of things.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just didn't
Could have
know.
found Bostwick, could have found Corin, could have found yeah.
But
Can
I
we
didn't.
borrow that dog, track down Etten?
Tab is mad for about 90 seconds when they discover this. Like they're real mad and then they get over it. But it's a rough 90 seconds.
So you guys know Jack Sparrow's compass, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Sunbeam. Sunbeam will take you.
Oh, I love it.
Next question. Do we ever solve the mystery of Sky, the soul in a ball?
The grateful spirit. Ha.
That's the strangest development of them all.
Oh, I love that. I'm trying to imagine the conversation because Macklin had the bottle, but I guess if Macklin's going to retire, then Sky wants to go like testify. There has to convince him to give the bottle back to somebody who's out and
Sky
about.
likes adventure.
Sky likes adventure.
Macklin knows what he's going to be doing. It would make sense to pass along the bottle to someone who is a bit more adventurous.
Oh, that's so weird. I love it.
Sky likes adventure and Macklin does not.
He liked adventure.
And then he met the knights.
And he met the knights. Y'all ruined him.
These things happen.
No.
They would like to have it just, on the record that Macklin pulled him into this.
That's true.
That's true. Just let you know that Macklin would have been lost without us.
You're not entirely wrong. Macklin in season 1 was a much different character. No, he would not have. That Macklin was doing a lot more deflecting and a lot more not processing and a lot more just kind of plugging along and going through the motions.
Does Tivalt in this world also settle down and open a generically named tavern? Also as a
Fitting.
choice.
Very fitting.
He likes to drop by and give them random arcane texts with useless tricks.
This is be a visiting professor.
V is Professor Emeritus. That I like. For the betterment of society.
So that you don't have to sell your soul and become a slave in order to learn magic.
I don't know if these count as NPCs. I mean, I guess technically. Sort of two-part, maybe sort of a two-part question. One is, I had left entirely in your hands the question of what Tab was supposed to be doing for the Raven Queen. If anything, like we knew what Tab thought they were we knew the Tab thought they owed a favor. Did you have something in mind, or was that something that was intended to emerge? Okay. That makes sense. Um, mhm. Oh, I love
no.
that. How many was it? Let me double check how many people I had on my list. Oh, I love that. Thank you. And then my other question was there anything more to the sort of handing off of Tab from the Raven Queen to the Changebringer than that was just sort of they came to a mutual agreement to rehome the foster dog. Mhm. Oh, interesting. It didn't matter anymore.
The change for me.
That
Oh, I love
actually
that.
plays into whether or not Tab would ever ask Cure what Cure learned from the Raven Queen, since
Oh,
Um,
that's right. I forgot. Tab didn't want to know. And it was 11. Tab was the 11th. I'll throw the whole list in the chat box if anybody wants to see
oh,
that,
interesting.
because it did exist. Although I think,
I'd like to
yeah,
see that.
we filled all of them in.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
left a couple of them as ones that didn't talk or that Tab didn't know anything about, and Heather filled the poet in. I think there was one other. Yeah, what did Cure? Yeah, Cure had lots of whispers, or things that happened off screen. Anything good that we would be amazed and surprised to know?
I don't. I think what was surprising was how mundane the responses were. Like when Cure asked what Tab was, it was pretty much Tab's not undead. They're alive, just not. They just don't function like everyone else. So that was why, like after that, whenever someone referenced Tab being undead or something like that, Cure kind of side-eyed them, but did not say much because Tab didn't seem like they wanted to. They didn't want confirmation because it felt like they were worried about the answer, when the answer was really like, nah, everything's all right.
Interesting.
And I think there was, I can't remember if Cure had asked about the nature of Tab's bargain with the Raven Queen, or if the Raven Queen still had a hold on Tab. But I feel like like Heather said, that was the response Cure got, that no, we're square. So the answers Cure came to was that Tab is perfectly fine, and they're fine. And Cure's like, all right, Tab, do you want to know? Nope, don't.
No,
not now.
don't want to know. Fascinating. They did appreciate the offer, and then the respecting of the nope. Delightful. Thank you.
I'm kind of curious about Macklin's family too.
Mm.
No
So
kidding.
does V ever manage to get his brother out?
His what?
More information needed.
His who out of what?
We will see. That might be another story.
Interesting.
Yes,
But-
V had background.
Bust V's brother out of Rikers.
Well, Macklin didn't want to go to Jorhaus.
There was a reason V was upset about the Underdark thing.
No, we gotta kill some bugs at some point and some mind flayers too, I
I
think.
have some questions about that. I don't want to.
Well, this is the Q&A. This is the time to ask players if you have questions
the-
about each
yeah.
other. Like,
This is it after tonight. There's no more questions about the game. All the
we're not even talking about this game ever again.
the
this is
source
done.
files get deleted. It's gone.
Yeah.
The notebooks get burned. The hard drives get hammered. It's done.
The save files get corrupted.
These characters never existed.
Good luck.
Best
That's
of
all
luck.
right.
Try the haymaker.
The haymaker. I really don't have much more. Tab was probably the more. Well, I mean, V, obviously, I have all kinds of questions, but
I have so many questions about me.
Because that's how the character works, right?
I mean, that's what V was. We were just accepting of V of being this is V. You know, if V wants to tell us who V is, V will tell us who V is. But
V definitely had some ulterior motives happening and a boss that V reported to, but it was always like, well, V's not going to heel turn, and
Right.
V's got their secrets. We can respect the secrets, and it is what it is. If we push V too hard, maybe V will, run off into the woods, never to be seen again. That's no good. We like having V around, so we'll let V keep his secrets.
That's really
Yes,
how
V had some prior obligations and was working for like 3 people when you guys recruited him.
Fascinating.
Wow. All right.
That is complicated.
Just rogue things.
Just rogue things.
Well, because V is not from Whitestone, V's from Zorhas, so
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that leads me to my question here: was V in communication with these people besides the one time we heard V in communication with them?
I mean, on and off with more like dead drops than actual phone calls, because what's easier to trace?
Interesting.
Was V secretly planning to take down the party?
Not really, no. Not as long as the goals coincided. He was just kind of seconded to Whitestone and then co-opted into hunting Vecna.
We won him over with the power of friendship. Or something.
And
Or
then
books.
he was
Books. The
"Wait,
power of books
I'm
and coffee.
networking, boss. It'll be fun. It'll be fine. I'm gonna have all sorts of ins with the royal family if we all live through this.
Amazing.
Also, the clasp. Did you know about the clasp?
I feel like V is the character like after the book series is released, then you get like the
Spin-offs.
the spin-off books, like here's the story from V's point of view, and it's totally different.
In which V was working night shift shelving books. And then this.
What a world. What a world.
And then it was the end of the world.
These things
It was
happen.
ending.
Oh my goodness. But
You
yes,
helped
it was
save
it
the
was,
world. They couldn't have done a better job.
Yes, V was kind of half wondering if there was like an intrinsic reward with this other than the connections made, and then he was like, everything's kind of in chaos. It's probably a bad time to ask.
So are we getting paid or? Oh,
Yeah, right?
this is pro bono. Oh, this is pro bono.
Oh, I've made a terrible mistake.
Oh no.
Should have asked more. When are we getting paid for helping your group of people out? What the fuck?
How did Macklin feel about being like there were definitely I remember there was definitely a point at which Tab was like, well, Macklin is clearly has to do the talking sometimes, and like a decision needs to get made. We're looking at you, Macklin. And that was definitely a dynamic that Tab had thought they had read as a thing that predated them. But it was not clear to me that was actually the case.
Oh.
Like, how did Macklin experience that? Like, hey, please be the voice of reason now.
I don't know when or how that became a thing. Macklin is there was a whole like campaign before Macklin joined up. They had lost a player. One of their rogues turned against them, and they were on the back foot and out of character. It was either Mitch or Heather was like, "Hey, join this game." And I was
I think Heather was
I don't
looking
know.
for a replacement, and I thought, Rob would really fit into this.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know what Critical Role is, and I was handed a book about the Critical Role campaign setting. I glanced at 2 pages, went cross-eyed, and put it down. I didn't know what Critical Role was. I still kind of don't. 98 episodes later into the first campaign. So when he joined the group, it was really, I don't want to say shaky, but no one trusted him. At least not initially. He got introduced by like a mutual contact, I think. It might have been Ustan who introduced him to the party.
I don't want to say, so I'll say this. I don't want to say that there was like a mistrust in Macklin initially. It wasn't like we didn't trust him, but we
just didn't trust rogues.
Right. It was
Here,
Yeah,
have
you
3
guys-
of them.
You guys had a rogue problem.
right.
I'm so sorry. That's what you all are.
It's
All of you, yeah.
that's fine. I'm used to kids. We were just discussing Macklin's first joining of the campaign,
And then being force teamed into being the voice of reason.
I gotta
Yeah,
say, Macklin really fit into the group. Like it was almost like a puzzle piece that snipped right in.
Yeah,
The first
it
replacement
took a
rogue.
couple sessions.
Yeah, well, I think even with like Hannah and Jill, it takes a couple sessions to really feel out. I mean, just that comes from feeling out player to player, their personality and where they're going with the character, to try to,
And there's also a huge element of I can't with the online game and not being able to read people's reactions.
Yes, that's always hard too. And
It was just it was like you kind of sneak in, and it worked kind of, I think, for V because it was a rogue.
Yeah.
I mean, Almika basically picked him up and threw him at you guys. So
basically,
I gotta say that playing online, especially coming from where everything that I've always ever done is in person, I definitely learned how to do voice cues more than I did, bodily reactions. Because anybody who knows me knows I am a very much body reaction type of person. So it was definitely first starting out playing online was I had to learn how to do vocal cues more than I do body reactions, because I'm sitting here and throwing up my hands and doing this kind of stuff, and it's like, oh, nobody can see me throw up my hands.
Sees this.
I feel that not so much as a player. And a player, I feel like most of my game, I've played the occasional thing in person, but most of my gaming D&D has been online, and I feel like I am so. I am not. I am a background. My background is as a writer, not as an actor. I think there was a lot of ways that I don't know that I would be I would be good at dropping into character if I was doing it in front of people. Now I think I could, but when I was starting out, but I definitely feel that when I'm DMing, and I will be making gestures to and I'll be like, yeah, nobody can see this. This is not helpful. It helps me know what I'm describing, but it's not helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just add that, and like when you're getting into like there's a couple times that Cure and Jocelyn have gotten in arguments and stuff like that to really show that the disappointment between Jocelyn and how Jocelyn feels about Cure and at the moment, like the giant wish that brought the deal that
The deal.
the deal that Cure made did not sit too well with Jocelyn. That's for
Oh
sure.
If
God.
I'm remembering correctly,
Nobody
that the
liked that
wish,
deal.
I mean, the wish for the phylactery was the reliquary
That
was
was
not
after-
not the wish that Cure was planning on originally. What was the original? Had she developed a plan for what that wish was going to be before things went all sideways there, or was it
Cure-
still in process?
At that point, Cure was following Macklin's advice in, I am not going to take initiative on this. I want everyone to talk about this first, and then we're going to figure out a plan of action.
And then things happened very quickly.
And then things happened, and the thought of the wishing for the reliquary had crossed my mind, but I put it on the back foot as a possibility. But when Josen made his move and everything moved so quickly, and it was kind of like, okay, everything just went to shit. Cure has a wish. Cure's going to act foolishly.
Oh yeah, Cure was tilted as fuck.
It was a moment. It was a very interesting pivot.
That
honestly,
was a highlight of this campaign. I really enjoyed that because I felt like it was multiple characters having different emotions all at once, and it was really in the mind. Because when you're trying to play as a character, trying to figure out quickly, like, because we're trying to make these split decisions, because that's what the character makes first. The thing about D&D is you can sit for a week and plan out what you're going to do next time, right? But in that session, it was like snap, snap, snap.
Yeah.
And then we went into dog play, and it became snap, snap, snap in the dog play. And I don't know. That was a highlight for me in the campaign.
Just kept
for sure.
happening.
I look back at that event with interest because on the one hand it felt very defining,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, and I mentioned this to Heather like much after the fact, like I felt so bad at that time. Like I felt like I had made such a huge misplay. I was really down. At that point I was like, all right, I'm going to see how these next few games play out, because if something happens secure, this is a good opportunity to kind of back out. But everything ended up balancing out and working out for the better. But it was definitely a very surprisingly emotionally draining story arc that I did not mean to walk into.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I like those moments, and I like how it's one of the reasons why I brought in Ferg at that moment was after Jocelyn left. The reason that I brought in Ferg.
You needed Ferg. It was a good character choice.
Yeah.
To bring in
Right
Ferg.
character at the right time.
Needed a kind of a group therapist and a soft spot for everyone to land after all of that.
And
The goofy guy,
completely
yeah.
weirded out by it as comic relief.
Yes.
I wanted to, as soon as that happened, I was like, what's a good character to bring in? The fucking lovable big dude who's the gentle giant but will destroy you if he has to. It's like the guy that actually gives a shit about everyone. And that's why I brought him in.
Dad.
And I really thought that and that's why I'm saying that's one of my favorite moments of the campaign, because I feel like we all felt like we're kind of going in this downward shit spiral, and then all of a sudden this fucking bright shiny dude just brings the party back up. And I don't know.
Cure was like, I cannot handle this man.
I honestly don't know what would have happened to Tab if Ferg hadn't been there. He was completely game changing for them, like in a really, really positive way.
It makes you feel good as a player too, because you feel like you did something right, after a bad moment.
It's interesting to watch. I was thinking too, as you're talking about Macklin, I think I may have said this early on, but part of the reason the Tab was, I mean, there are many reasons the Tab is why Tab is, but part of it was that part of the reason that Tab developed the way that they did is that they were joining as the time 7th character in a well-established game. And it was sort of clear to me, even like just knowing that much, that I needed to bring somebody who was going to be able to go with the flow, and not somebody who was going to like walk in and start trying to like control the flow of events in a game that had been going on for however long, with however many people who already knew what the deal was. And it's been, I mean, everybody's been interesting to watch in different ways at different times, but Macklin has been really interesting in particular for me because, as some of you now know, the character that I have played the longest pre-Tab is the planner and schemer and too smart for their own good character of that game, and it was really, really interesting to see that while sitting behind the eyes of a character who was so not that, and sort of pushing and getting to play the character that was pushing back against, we don't need all those plans, well knowing that like 3 days later I was going to be the one being like, okay, here's the 7 plans we have. That was a lot of fun for me.
Oh, interesting.
And also I wasn't sure how much this came across, but also sort of coming to the realization, Heather and I had some conversations too about Tab's relationship with Corin, in the pre puzzle box scenario, of sort of Tab realizing that as much as they fucking hated sitting there in an like listening to the development of labyrinth plans that weren't going to work out, if there was no one making those labyrinth plans, they had nothing to push against, and so they needed someone making some plans.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't believe for a second that the plan was gonna go according to plan, and sometimes it did. Like eventually it did, and that was
So
a really
that's why you
interesting
can't give a
dynamic to
shit about
discover too.
plans.
Yeah, there was one point that I think it was, I don't think they were loud about it, but there was definitely one point when they were like, no, we need you to make plans. We hate it, but also we need it.
I
And that
remember it.
was, yeah.
Things kind of clicked for me, like, oh, okay, so you need plans because you need to push against plans. I see.
It was fun to get to see that from the other side of that dynamic.
It's a shame that the dynamic, the relationship evolved so close to the end of game. But, character arcs, you kind of don't really see the truest form of the character until the end of the story.
Yeah.
In some cases, so it's also fitting. It's unfortunate, but it's fitting.
I will sort of kind of forever be a little sad we didn't manage to arrange the like last late breaking heart to heart, I mean they're 2 rogues, but the like what the fuck was up with that conversation that we had discussed about like, no really, what was going on with you, no really, what was going on with you, but also I think that probably happened somewhere some years after the end of the campaign
over some drinks.
Probably
Go ahead.
Probably the same moment where Macklin's asking Tab about, so what about your family or the people who you left behind? Oh, it's just you and the people in your head and Corin and Assume. Just those.
That's it.
2.5 people. Okay, cool. Good to know.
Yeah,
I mean, 2.5, or is it 12?
Yeah, 12.
I mean, they're incorporeal.
They're not all chatty.
Like 7.
Yeah.
The other thing is too, I don't think as a player and as a character, Jaws didn't realize how much Tab like needed that, like I mean, as a player, I didn't even realize that, like, because the way Tab is, I mean, Tab is up and down at times, right? So like Jaws didn't even realize that how attached Tab became to the party, I guess is the best way to put it.
I did not intend for Tab to have quite so much separation anxiety, but then there we were.
And then they were.
Yeah, as a player, and I think everybody saw this, that was sort of the thing that I struggled the most with was, and I think like I really appreciated being the people heard me out when I had small meltdowns and not so small meltdowns. But I think from like a lot of D&D for me is sort of discovering by like trial and error what gets across and what doesn't get across, and then with Tab, a lot of that was discovering that Tab's facade was convincing enough that it was not evident that there was other stuff going on below the surface. and the other game that I am a player in most frequently and for the longest term, we're a bunch of meta nerds and have just extensive hours and hours of and page screens and screens of chat about like dissecting everything that is going on with the characters. And so it was really, I think my learning curve was a lot about trying to figure out how to navigate running the character as the character was, and also running the character in a way that was going to work for me, in a way that sort of while sort of not necessarily feeling like I had a great handle on how the character was landing and how to adjust or not. Which, like, there were definitely times I could have asked more questions and things like that. But I think there were things that I realized later than I wish I had about how Tab was coming across that would have been, had it occurred to me to ask earlier, might have been helpful. But also I feel like it worked out.
No, I get
Oh,
that
yeah.
because I also came at this from a writer's perspective, where it's like you're omnipotent, you know what's in everybody's heads, and all of a sudden you're like, everyone's got their own head. I'm so confused right now.
Right? Like, what's
That
up
is
with that?
that is such a good realization to come to, is that when you get it, that you understand that moment where you realize that no one's in your head, and the most obvious things that you're putting down that you think, yeah, this makes perfect sense, you're gonna get this, isn't so obvious.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That is such a hard thing. And playing
Well,
D
and
and
it's like
D
I
has made
picked
me realize
up
that.
on a ton of foreshadowing that never seemed to pan out, like from other characters. It's like I expected something else to happen.
Yeah.
I think there's
That is
also
certainly a thing.
also an element of like one of like so just I mean people remember like remembering from session to session, oh yeah, I did want to ask about that, is not always as easy as I might like it to be. And then just like having, like, one of the things that I was happy with about how Tab played was that they were up in people's business and they asked questions,
Oh, yeah.
and I think sometimes drew out things that were interesting, and sometimes went tearing down paths that maybe they should have left things more alone. But I think sometimes it's hard when you're like juggling story elements and juggling your character and juggling all the other 7 billion things to go on. I think it's sometimes hard to keep track of juggling, like, oh, what was that weird thing that V said 3 sessions ago that I wanted to follow up on? I need to
And on the
reconfigure
one
my
hand,
notes to keep track
it
of
might
that.
have been important. I might remember. On the other hand, heck if V knows.
And sometimes also, like, that's what interacting with people is like sometimes. Like, if you don't ask the right questions, you don't learn the things. Sometimes if you do ask the right questions, you don't learn the things. So
Right. Yeah, I think that's you definitely have to
Yeah.
try to read people, and trying to read people at a distance is hard to do.
Yeah, that's always
Well,
been the
and this
hardest
was
part of online
my
play.
Yes.
first like actual campaign, because I'd done like 4 sessions with a new DM and a bunch of newbie D&D players where none of us had played before, and that was my experience with D&D before I came in.
Wait,
Trial
so
by
this is like your
fire.
first campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had only ever gotten
So
the
the-
character to like level 3, and then I
I-
came
the
in
f-
with V, and I was just like, what on earth are all these dice?
I saw Jill as a guest star we were doing lunch walks, and I was like telling Jill like every single detail of the campaign, and eventually I was like, you want a guest star? You want to join?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened there. And I was like, it sounds like so much fun, but I have no clue what I'm doing.
That's an
It's like I
exceptionally
can come
rare
up with stuff,
occurrence.
I can figure it out. I because I started, as I said, as a writer. It's like it's just something I did for fun. I did a whole bunch of role play with a friend over the phone when I was a teenager, but it was like one other person, and we were both like on the phone for hours.
That sounds amazing.
That's cool.
But
Yeah,
it's like there
that's
were no
pretty fun.
dice. It was like we had to like decide.
That's interesting. We used to, my cousin, so when I was a kid, when I first started playing D&D, I lived with my grandmother. Like, we lived with my grandmother. My cousin lived across a field because we used to live on a farm, and my uncle's house was right there. And we had walkie-talkies, and me and my brother would be on one walkie-talkie. She'd be on another walkie-talkie, and that's how we played D&D with her. Was across the way. So I have a little experience of this,
With a
but
walkie-talkie, I love that.
with a walkie-talkie, back a long time ago. That was back when I was like 13, 14, 15, in that range. That was a long time ago, but we had a blast. It was fun. So
Yeah.
that was my first experience with D&D.
I had a couple failed campaigns. I had boyfriends kind of failed to try and teach me D&D. I started RP when I was like 11 in no, younger. Gosh, 10 or 11 in Harry Potter RP chat rooms on MSN. That's how I met Sam, was in an RP chat room when I was 12. So I'd been RPing forever and ever, and I'd have boyfriends who'd be like, "Oh, you know how to, you already got the RP down. Why don't you play D&D?" And then they would do a very bad job of trying to teach me how to play D&D, which I know now. Because I'm like, oh,
but at the time you
they're
didn't know it was a bad
assholes.
job. Yeah.
They're really bad at this. And it was like 3.5 and 4, which were not exactly new player friendly systems.
Yeah, that first couple of games was on 3.5.
Yeah. So, think I was in. John's game was the first 5th edition game I was in. And then I started a game before TDK. There was a game before TDK. That I started, and I invited a bunch of my adult friends to play, and none of them would play with me. Except for one guy who was like, "Oh, can I play with my kid?" And I was like, "Oh, that would be a really interesting dynamic to have at my table. Sure." And then he bowed out and his kid kept playing. And then
Oh no.
yeah, and then it turned into be like 3 teenagers, Jim, who you all will meet, if you haven't met him already. And then I brought John in as a ringer because I was like, I need someone to get them on task a little bit. And then I ended up wrapping that campaign after the arc finished. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I'm done.
That was horrible.
All done.
It was so bad, and
It was bad.
I mean, they weren't bad kids. They were just kids, and I was like, I want to tell an MCU level of kind of gritty, but still fun story. And they were drawing dicks on my screen, like, okay, I can't deal with this now.
Yeah, I was so
I'm
happy.
I'm a grown-ass adult. No, thank you.
I was definitely happy when Heather was like, "Yeah, we're gonna change this up. Do you mind just joining this campaign with Mish and Sam?"
Mish
I
and
was
Sam.
like, "Yes, please."
Yeah. I was like,
'Cause
that's why I didn't do homebrew. Is because I was like, I'm not going to put 8 million hours into homebrew that no one reads, and I'm not going to, because I had written a bunch of homebrew for that game, and no one ever fucking read it, and I was like, I'm done. I give up.
I feel like it's one thing if you're DMing for like your own kids and their friends.
Yeah,
But
like, if
DMing
it
for like
was,
somebody else's kid after
But also,
Yeah.
I think
Like,
that
that
if it
can
was
also be fun if
Lena,
that's
like,
what you wanna
she
do,
would know better
but-
than to draw dicks on my maps too. So like,
right.
Yeah.
like, boy
Don't
better
draw dicks on the maps.
get to 13 and he's not drawing dicks on his Dungeon Master's map. We're gonna have a conversation. Look, I don't care. I don't care about a lot of things, but you're gonna have good table manners.
Can draw dicks on his own maps.
So funny story. That was the first session of Philly and Kareen. Yeah.
It was Felian retired with a daughter.
It's like that was Oh,
I feel
that
like
was definitely.
that actually ends up being like in a weird twist of fate how he gets his daughter with Cassandra. He goes on this adventure with a bunch of just useless adventurers, and he's like, I came back.
Yeah.
It sucked. We have a daughter now.
Oh no.
That was the worst thing I've ever done, and I am never doing it again.
I remembered why I stopped adventuring. Thanks.
Never again.
So
I mean,
did we?
coming home with
sorry,
a
go ahead.
child has worked for the Taldores, so.
So did you?
Did we accidentally complete Vecna's ritual for him?
No.
Or did no?
No.
Or did we cut it off? Bye.
You guys gave him a couple extra spell slots. That was it.
Okay, I was gonna ask what the effect of that was.
I feel less bad
So,
about it now.
I mean, it all worked out in the
sigil
end.
that sigil and those pedestals. What purpose do those actually serve?
One of my questions too.
Sigil and pedestals, they were slowly feeding their life force to Vecna to help with his ascension.
Okay, so eliminating
That's
the
why he was
symbol
pissed.
stopped the
I'm glad we broke
paused
that
the
down.
ascension.
Yeah.
Cool.
You
Would it have
broke,
done
like, a
anything-
good chunk of the ascension. Like, if other monks had been able to step in very quickly and take over, the ascension would have gone on as planned, but because you broke it and then very quickly dealt with Vecna, it kind of broke it. Like, if you guys hadn't disrupted that circle, the fight would have gone a bit differently. He would probably have been able to heal more significantly in the middle by just sucking up monks and being like, those are my hit points now, thanks. These are my spell slots now, thanks.
So yeah, it was a good idea that we
Yeah, it's a
destroyed
good
it.
idea for you. That fireball was like, I was like ripping up. I was like, it's done.
And it was weird because I purely intended to cast Firebolt. And then I hit the wrong spell and I rolled it in D&D Beyond. I'm like, no, I'm taking it. I did it. I said the one for the spell I rolled.
Yes, and it was very
I'm going
entertaining.
to stand behind this fireball that I have never seen before and never cast.
Did anyone not cast Fireball on that last?
Cure.
Okay.
Cure
Just
didn't.
because she doesn't have access.
Didn't have
to
a way
it.
to do it, yeah.
It was very impressive too. V, I think, greatly enjoyed the explosion, even though he was somewhat surprised about it.
What can you do? Just put a little too much juice behind it. What was Vecna going to polymorph Macklin into?
Bunny.
A bunny?
A
Into
bunny.
money?
A bunny.
A bunny.
A bunny.
Speaking
Bunny.
of
Yeah.
the polymorph coin that got stolen from Tab,
Yeah.
and who did that end up with? Or is it just still getting passed around as money?
It's getting passed around as money.
Who? When? When did it get stolen?
In
Rex and Trim.
Rex and Trim. Some Tab got pickpocketed because their passive perception is
wow.
10.
And they didn't take V with them.
Bunny.
And that was all because I had to ask what we had in our pockets. And we have a ton of stuff, but it's not like pocket-sized stuff. So it was the coin, and it was one other thing.
Yeah.
But the other thing was less. I don't know what it was, but it was not obviously valuable. So bye bunny coin.
Bye bye bunny coin. Yeah, Bunny. He was trying to turn a couple people into mice or something, like
Nice.
something that would have
Traditional leave me alone animals.
Yes. Something that you'd crawl into a wall and unpolymorph and take bludgeoning.
Oh no, that's clever.
No, it was a smart play.
Yeah, he sucked.
He just sucked. I was using the Vecna the Ascended stats, but also I'm really bad at combat. That's another thing. That's the thing I'm going to improve for next.
Dice told a story there.
Yeah, the dice really did, and you guys did prep. Like you guys really did your homework. It's like when you save all of your assets for the last final boss fight at the end of a video game. You guys just like digging out this and this and this.
And also, yeah. And we got lucky too. Like when he got I don't know what it was that he was able to get off that Cure took 150 points of damage in one attack. Was that the Meteor Storm?
Might have been Meteor. It was either Meteor Storm or Circle of Death. I think he got off a couple of times.
Something.
I think it was Meteor Storm
because it was bludgeoning.
he used a couple necrotic stuff on Cure, but that just kept getting reduced to minuscule amounts.
Yeah. When he got something to stick, it sucked.
Yeah.
It was very clear that if we rolled badly and didn't have enough luck points to fix it or whatever, then
I ended up becoming
very quickly.
Yeah, I ended up actually subtracting hit points from him because he didn't have any spell slots left and he was not a melee combat.
He wasn't gonna get us with cantrips.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's out of spell slots. Well, just minus 200 hit points, and whoever does it does it.
his hit points lasted only as long as his spell slots.
I mean, that's how.
No,
that's
he
how
still
mag-
had like he still had like
That sounds
400 hit
appropriate.
points, but I was like, what is he gonna do? Spit at him? Like slap fight? Like
Sacred Flame.
Firebolt was his cantrip, and half you guys are immune to fire damage. So, I was like, yeah, whatever. He's done.
I mean, death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
If you can use a cantrip, what is legendary action use a cantrip? That's what, 2 actions?
Yep. Something like that. If not, I think I just was
Yeah.
like giving him an extra turn
That
every
would really
round.
drag on.
Yeah.
That's just when you bring in Death Knights coming up behind us, except the fight. That's it.
That's why I brought in. I was like, okay, last round of the fight, Alina will come in and will help clean up.
Cass.
Cass, rather.
I'm glad I got to use all of Cure's key abilities in that last fight, and that I think this was the first time I got to employ all of her anti-magic abilities at once.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
She was really designed to just be a pain in the ass for any spellcaster she was next to.
Yeah, I don't remember having seen that witch hunter thing before. Had that just not triggered, or had I just not noticed that?
That was the
Or was
last
that a late
feat.
breaking?
Yeah, that was the
Oh.
last feat that I gave her during our level up
Mhm.
process, and that was actually taken from the Grim Hollow campaign guide. Let me pull it up real quick.
Grim Hollow has some interesting spells.
I have
Some
not looked at it
interesting
at all.
It's good if you like to use blood magic.
That sounds fine.
Sangromancy.
Oh yeah, so I got that at Paladin level 19.
Cool.
So this was literally the first and last fight that it was employed in. And I was so amused that it deflected. It didn't deflect any spells that were dangerous, and it allowed me to take some spells that were dangerous, which was exactly what the Paladin wants to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the combination of like what she's succeeded and failed on was intricate, because she needed to fail some of those, right, so that he couldn't attack somebody, so that he didn't have to attack somebody else.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it wasn't
yeah.
just that she had to roll really high consistently; it was that she had to sometimes roll really high and sometimes not for things to work as she wanted them to. That was
Yeah,
impressive.
so that was the double-edged sword when I realized, like, oh, my party's actually really fragile. I don't know if I actually want to deflect these. But thankfully, on some of those key spells, I failed to save. Be right back.
Yeah, I think
Bye.
Jozin's the only one that had equivalent HP to Cure, because Jozin, being a sorcerer, like that's where I dump most of my stats into, was Con and Charisma,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a 20 Charisma and 20 Con, so I had a bunch of hit points, and then I took the Tough feat, which gives me even more hit points.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I was like, well, if I'm gonna have a Con this high, I'm just gonna take Tough and get so much more in hit points. So that's why I had 211 hit points.
Yeah,
Jeez,
we had
Louise.
149 was our max before the temp and max. But I gotta take like I don't remember when exactly we took Resilient Con. That was one of our level ups, one of our ASIs. But that was a significant quality of life improvement.
Yeah, having the HP was, well, especially like because of sorcerer, especially at the lower levels before I took the light armor feat. That's all I had. I essentially I need to have as much as I can for HP, because I'm gonna die really quickly, because they're gonna hit me every fucking time they hit me. So
Oh, yeah. Go after the caster.
I think at those levels I had Stone Skin too. So if I needed to, I could cast Stone Skin to give myself resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and all that bullshit. So I guess I don't know. Does anyone else have any other question
Yeah.
about campaign?
We've exhausted mine.
I
can't
guess
think of anything.
my questions are the upcoming campaign.
All
Like,
right, I am available to answer some questions about the upcoming campaign. Once we have Mish back, I will at least drop.
I'm here.
Okay, the name of it is going to be Unstuck.
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 Okay.
This time I'm gonna have to try to. I think my next step is gonna be figuring out how to work, like, take notes and pay attention, because I was struggling at level 16 to level 20. It's like, nope, there were bullet points, if anything.
So, what are your questions? What are you guys' questions? I will answer what I can about next campaign.
So I guess my question is you said that we could be characters from any point in time
Yes.
and be whatever we want. Now my question is with that, especially from what you described, are we can we be characters from different realms? Like, let's just take for example, just because I've been watching The Witcher, if I wanted to be Geralt from Rivia
Get in line.
instead. Thelian was highly based on The Witcher.
Yeah.
By the way. Could we do that? Like, or are we stuck to?
It's going to
our
be
world?
our world. However, it's our world plus. So, like, I will allow, like, your characters have had run-ins or experiences of the supernatural. So you're not going in. You can go into this blind. You can bring, like, Karen from down the street who wants to talk to a manager who is now a barbarian level 1.
Oh no.
If you want to. However,
I think that would be freaking hilarious.
you can also bring, like, a knight from the 13th century who's definitely fucked around with some dragons, or you can bring. You just gotta kind of make it.
So think more supernatural than The Witcher.
No, not more supernatural. I guess I'm trying to figure out a way.
I meant the show.
Oh,
Where
I've
it's,
never
like,
seen.
real world
I've never
plus
seen.
demons.
Yeah, I've never seen Supernatural, so I would not be able to attest to
Neither
that.
have I. I only know it by its, like, rabid fandom online.
The first 5
Supernatural?
seasons are really all you need of that show.
Yeah. After that,
Anything
don't
more
even
than that gets
bother.
weird.
That's
Yeah.
so many
That's because the
seasons.
creator only booked like 5 seasons worth of stories and then finished it and was like, all right, I'm out. And the network was like, no, you're a hit. We got to keep going. And the rest of the 12 seasons happened.
So, like, to talk, like, Misha's character comes from a family of, like vampire hunters or whatever, and thinking more like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen type of situation, or whatever that might be, or something like that. I guess is reasonable levels of supernatural, I guess.
So Earth, but the folklore might actually be real.
Oh, Earth, but the folklore might actually be real.
I like this explanation. That was
That's very
I'm
good.
trying to think my way through, like, creating a character based off this, and my brain was going absolutely crazy.
So,
Mine too, because I was trying to figure out where it's
So,
like.
So you might be an actual, like, ancient Greek person who has or believes that they have had dealings with Zeus.
yes.
My name is
And they might have had
Alexander.
dealings
No,
with
not that
something.
Alexander.
Well, I've been toying and refining a concept for a while, so it's gone back and forth with Heather Ford, and like she said, I have a character concept that is that heir to a family of monster hunters who has fallen on bad times.
Are you just bringing Esmeralda?
No, but Esmeralda
Like, I would be
might
in favor.
Esmeralda helped refine my love of this concept, and she might be like a far-flung member of this family. I'm blending together Trevor Belmont from Castlevania and
I knew
Geralt
it.
from The Witcher.
I knew it was gonna be Trevor Belmont. I was like,
yeah.
he's talking about a Belmont right there.
Yeah, he's going to be a Belmont, but I've built him more Witcher-esque.
You know what the funny thing is when I was planning for the next campaign, I was like trying to figure out how to build a Trevor Belmont because I was playing Castlevania.
So there's this channel on YouTube called Tulak the Barbarian,
Mm-hmm.
and his entire channel is just building characters from games and anime and comic books and movies and building them raw.
Mm.
I highly recommend checking it out. He did a video on Trevor Belmont, and I kind of love the concept, so I decided, you know what, I want to play this build. Let me tweak it a little bit.
Mm.
And then my Grim Hollow book came in, and I realized there was a fighter subclass based on taking alchemical mutagens. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh, this is the route.
I'm waiting for you to both show up with characters and then have to like have Belmont cousins or something.
We're just from two different time periods.
Two different time
Yeah.
periods. One of you is from the 1700s and one of you is from the 1900s.
Yeah.
Don't
be surprised, Mish, if
Yeah.
my character is similar to yours.
That would be
I like that.
hilarious.
I don't hate that concept. Like, you guys are totally free to work together to kind of come up with, like, shit like that. Like, maybe you
My
are someone's
grandfather's
great
brother
uncle.
vanished.
Yeah.
Oh God, we're related.
and I'm a fucking modern day friggin'. Oh god, here we go.
Bring, like,
I
love
got
it.
dibs on 1900s.
Oh, you're 19. Oh, okay. I'll
Just
take.
turn
I'll
of the century. I just like cars are just new on the scene and like, oh, I know what that is. That's one of those new fangled auto contraptions. The horseless carriages. They're all the rage or something.
So, yeah, no, definitely work together. I do want you guys to, like, try to base it a little bit in reality, though. Like, try to, like, tell me where in the world they're from. Like, that sort of thing.
So, as your resident person who knows basically nothing about history,
Yeah.
I think the only way I'm going to get through this without having to do a whole bunch of research is just going straight up disaffected 80s kid. So I'm
Totally.
going straight up disaffected
You could
80s
do,
kid.
you could
And we'll
do,
see what happens
Marvelous.
after that.
you could do disaffected 80s kid. You could do,
Yes.
I mean, if I was bringing a character, I might bring, like, World War II nurse, because I love that idea. I know, so we also have another person joining the campaign. Jim will be joining the campaign full time. I think he's bringing a explorer, like pulp fiction type explorer. So
Oh, that could be
Dr.
fascinating.
Jones.
That sounds pretty cool, actually.
yeah, so. And we'll have some session zeros to kind of go over, like,
Awesome.
the tone we're looking for and kind of agree on, you know. I loved how Hannah, when we were prepping that Good Society, how it was like, oh, maybe I know you from this, or maybe we know each other from this, or maybe this.
I'm really enjoying that game. I'm planning with the Feywild game that I'm going to be running. I am planning to try to pull some stuff in. So for those who don't know, Good Society is effective. It's basically Jane Austen, the role playing game, and it's
Oh.
designed.
It has some
to
really
be-
good mechanics, and
Yeah.
like all
This
of the
really piques my
characters.
interests.
All of the characters go into it knowing each other, or at least knowing about each other, and having, like, links and things like that. So I
yeah,
like
it's
that.
specific. I'll drop the link into the Facebook chat. It's really specifically, Liz, who plays in Coasties, was the one who found it, and got us started on it. It's specifically designed to play usually fairly short arcs, like 3 to 6 play cycles, which as we will tend to work out to like 5 to 10 game sessions. And it's collaborative storytelling entirely focused on, like, characters and relationships and day-to-day life. So it's really well designed to be collaborative and consent based. And part of that is, like, you don't develop characters and bring them. You come to the session and build the characters together. It's very different, but there are things I like about it. I'm definitely trying to see what of it, like, will fit well into a D&D game.
Yeah, so don't worry if you don't have, like, a clear character concept, or you're not quite sure what you want to play, because we also can work together to, like, be like, oh, you and John went missing at the exact same time and are from, like, the same area, and maybe you're competitors, maybe you're not, like, who knows, but yeah, there's plenty to do.
With timeline shenanigans, that creates some interesting
It does.
elements of how do these characters know each other?
How do they know each other? Do they know each other? Do they not know each other, but they're like related?
Oh, I
like,
read your series of adventuring guides. I haven't written a series of adventuring guides.
I mean, no, your timeline will end. So like you don't have like a series of adventuring guides, but you definitely was like, oh, I read a novel based on your exploits, or didn't you weren't you at this battle over there that failed miserably and ended up starting World War II? And you're like,
I swear I was researching the
Literally.
family genealogy and you vanished at 22.
That happens a lot in my family.
it was a misfire. I didn't mean to shoot the Archduke.
A lot of us going missing at various points in our lives. You stop thinking about it after a while.
So
This is gonna be the accent.
Yes, it makes genealogy really difficult.
That is a Trevor Belmont accent right
Yeah.
there.
so
Yes, I've been practicing.
I can tell. It's pretty good. I'll be honest with you. It's pretty good.
Down on his luck, drunk, like he's going to be a lot friendlier than Cure, not so rigid, but very much a kind of not going too much into the history I gave him. Like he needs he's at the bottom of the barrel.
So there are definitely places where you can write into each other's story. Any other questions about next campaign?
Time frame? I think we've already talked about this because I was fussing with my calendar the other day. But
6 to 8 weeks. Plan on probably around February 15th, but don't like plan on it, if that makes sense.
indeed, thank you.
It's going to be in that general vicinity of February 15th.
I'm definitely taking January off. I will probably be ready mid February, but however, I'm trying desperately to get medicated for my mental health stuff.
Mhm.
So that can be a little up in the air, especially if like I don't know how things are gonna play out on that
Absolutely.
front.
Yep, I know how that gets.
Because Jesus Christ, I would really like someone to just fill my antidepressants. That would be great right now.
That feels like that shouldn't be too much to ask. And,
And
yet,
yet.
Really should not be too much to ask, to be honest with you.
almost like our healthcare system is broken.
Yeah.
No, stop it. It's perfect.
So,
Perfectly
Awesome.
broken in every way.
any more questions about next campaign?
Do you know about what level you wanted to start us off at?
Probably 2.
Ooh.
Much
Level 2.
similar to this game starting at level 2. I
That'd
really
be so relaxing
yeah, you only have to remember like 3
Oh
things.
gosh, less dice, less confusion.
until we realize how easy it is to die horribly.
Oh, I already realized that.
That's a problem for future us.
What was that one shot for Sear Moore and my character died?
That's gonna be interesting because I've already like plotted out how I want to multi-class this character sub. Now it's like level 2. All right.
Did you think I was gonna start you guys at level 15? Like, no.
That's a hard, yeah.
No, too.
But that's kind of an idea I like to play with, that I'm experimenting with more in newer campaigns, which is the idea of someone that's really competent, but for backstory reasons, they've lost their edge, and the campaign is them regaining all those tricks.
Ooh. Oh, so we could do like futuristic post-apocalyptic type scenario too, couldn't we?
Yeah. Yes, you could. I'll
Wait,
allow
the
it.
The future is available?
The future is
The
available,
future
but
is
like
available.
try to
From
keep
the
it pretty
What
close
year
to.
is that? 2021.
Yeah, it's gonna be 2027, and you guys are like Mad Maxing it. But yeah, no.
Okay. I might have to think about my disaffected 80s.
Future-
I do love the idea of a disaffected 80s kid, but I'm gonna have to think about that.
Future is available, but like try to keep it grounded in reality. I guess
Like
is where I'm at.
recognizable.
Recognizable future.
Not so far. You're basically in Star Wars.
Yeah, no Star Trek characters. Mad Max might be okay though.
Oh, I'm gonna have to think about
Yeah,
that.
that's literally what I was thinking. How do you think you're so good with a sword? You know? That's what I was thinking.
Oh, amazing.
I love it. I love it. I think that's the direction I'm gonna go in.
So who's going to be the one that says they're from the sword-wielding post-apocalypse, and he's really just a Hot Topic mall rat?
That might be my disaffected 80s kid.
What's a COVID?
And
Oh. Escapist fantasy happy.
Your disaffected 80s kid who was in the SCA.
Yeah.
so and like there's no race, no
No, you
class.
start as humans, but you might wake up as something completely different in regards to, when they pull you through to into the society, sometimes things don't go quite right. The spell, maybe the wizard they got was drunk, and you guys ended up a turtle. Who knows? But
I always knew my family was Catholic.
So that
Didn't think it was so
Disaffected
little,
80s kid just loves being a turtle.
did you just give us a hint into Jim's character?
maybe a
Or
little
was
bit.
that- Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did I hear you say something like quantum leapy? Is there like
Yeah,
any sort
so-
of structural stuff you're willing to or able to disclose at this point, or is that still cooking?
That is mostly still cooking. I can tell you that
Which
it'll
is
be
totally fair. Obviously.
pretty very much like your job is to go and bring balance to various universes for various reasons. Maybe you're bringing evil to them. Who knows? Balance is the name of the game. So not quite literally. The name of the game is Unstuck, because you guys are unstuck in history. But yeah, there might be some bouncing to worlds you recognize, some bouncing to worlds you don't recognize. Who knows?
Sounds fun.
I kind of want to like do like a Stargate thing where it's like they're familiar with going off world, but it's like just some random secretary. This
Yeah,
secretive
I'm gonna
organization.
clamp down on the futurists. Like, don't go so far into the future that you guys are in Stargate. Like,
Near future.
near future.
Fair.
An early space era astronaut could be fun
Yeah.
for somebody who knows history things.
I am
and
just
or is
afraid
interested
that
in-
if I pick something that's
history
actually
things.
historical, I will go down the rabbit hole for the next 2 months.
That's fine.
Well,
I
you
was
do
allowed.
2 months.
You have time.
But do I
Yeah.
have the brain and energy?
I was
That's
just
always a
thinking
question.
near future society has crumbled. Now there's a bunch of, I was literally thinking similar to Mad Max, but
Yeah.
not
I
Mad
mean,
Max.
you could be a New Hampshire libertarian. It's basically the same thing.
All the New Englanders laugh cry.
Country has broken apart.
Hmm.
The Second Civil War.
I can recommend a podcast for that if you are curious as to how that might look.
You
I
mean
feel like it might
Broken
be
Society?
too real right now.
Yeah, let me grab it.
I want to know what it is, but I don't think I have a heart to listen.
I'm trying
I
to
just wanna know
think.
what it is.
I'm gonna stick with my turn of the century drunken Englishman.
It's by the same guy as Behind the Bastards, so let me just look it up real quick. Behind the Bastards. Robert
I'm starting to
Evans.
flag, folks. I'm gonna step out.
All right, man.
Good night.
Thanks.
It could happen
Thanks for
here.
the flag.
If you're looking for post-apocalyptic, or rather like after the crumble of the United States, it could happen here
User
is a
disconnected from your channel.
good one to look at.
What happened here? Cool.
I would not recommend it if you are easily a little if it's too real. But
Many things are too real these days, but I'd like
Yeah.
to know the good things still exist,
Hmm, hmm.
even if I don't want to consume them anytime soon.
so yeah.
Delightful.
Yeah. Any other questions about I don't know. Anything? I'm open book right now.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
I'm good.
Okay.
Just thanks.
Yeah.
I think.
I think I'm going to withdraw for now as well.
yeah, I gotta get up early. I know how you feel.
About that work thing.
Have a
Yeah.
good night, all, and
Work
thank
is
you for the
overrated.
campaign.
Yeah, night.
Yeah. Good job,
We
DM.
made it.
Thanks. We survived.
We did.
Looks like we made it.
Alrighty, folks. Have a wonderful
All
night.
right.
Have a good night.
Night.
Thank you, Heather. Good night, everyone.
And I
User disconnected from your channel. User disconnected from your channel.